G'day everybody, and welcome back for some more Stationeers as I stand here, suitless, somehow breathing in my greenhouse. I really wish there was a way to move the camera without my little homunculus fella contorting himself to try and look where I'm looking. But yeah, my breathable greenhouse, which has, let me put this on. A whole lot of oxygen in it. And a bit more pressure. Because I've got that cold CO2, I could even... Oh. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Kind of need my suit on to have lights. Or at least my helmet. I think it's my helmet that gives the lights. Yeah, epic matrix moves. But, yeah, because I've got the cold CO2, I had that pump down here running for a while, and it has increased the pressure within this environment up to 60, almost 62 kilopascals. Because I've still got a whole bunch of CO2 in there. And I was thinking, since I've got that, and since I've got this room now with quite a lot of oxygen in it, like almost 70% O2 at 62 kPa, is a pretty solid amount. I should probably begin the process of having a shared, breathable atmosphere that's adjusted and corrected so that any extra O2 is dragged out, any need for additional CO2 and nitrogen is added in automatically, so that I can have a base that, as I complete more rooms, I make them breathable as I go, because I would like to not have to go through airlocks. I'd like to have one external airlock, which I go through, take my suit off, and then I walk around with no suit. Which means I'll probably also need to get... I think there's a head torch, which I'll need to wear when I'm inside the base so that I have a torch, but otherwise I'd really like to eventually go suitless inside the base. So that's something I'd like to work on, and the reason it came to mind was I've done a little bit of stuff because I was desperate to play more Stationeers during the week, and I was feeling really sick on Monday and Tuesday, so I didn't do any work. I just was like, I want to play some games, and this is what I wanted to play. So I did some stuff. Nothing that I haven't done before, but some stuff. Also... Thank you, Crassus. Thank you for the 29 months. Thank you, Kaylin, for 15 months. Thank you, Chipsticks, for 2 years. And for everything else. Feeling gassier, is that just Charlie? Charlie hasn't gassed me yet, but she is with me, so it's just a matter of time. Thanks, Sisu. Thank you for a year. And thank you, Goleonis. Thank you so much for the 10 gift subs. Thank you very much. So, what I did was I started laying down the additional pipelines, which were supposed to go to various rooms. So I laid out this nitrogen line going all the way around, following the CO2 one. I got distracted while I was meant to be connecting these two up. Actually, no, these two aren't meant to be connected up. And then I realized I probably don't want or need the individual gases going around my base. Do I? I just need a gas mix going around the base. And I need to mix the gas here. Don't I? Hey, Pat Player, thank you so much for a year as well. Jeez. Multiple people on nice, neat numbers. Interesting. And thanks, King Raven. Thank you for 300 bits. Okay. So, that was one thing I was thinking about. I was thinking it would be good to have a breathable mix going throughout the base so that I could just have that being vented into certain rooms, and then I could utilize that same network. If it's all on passive vents throughout the base, that same network can also be used for taking the gases out of, especially if that network has lots of inline tanks, so it has quite a substantial volume itself. Then I can have the filters pulling the excess out and putting the needed additions in to maintain hopefully a pressure of 100 kPa. Some people would advocate more for a cyclical system where you have one waste system that pulls and one delivery system that goes in. I'm honestly not sure how much of a benefit there might be for that. I'll have to think about that. It is nice having the flow within the greenhouse that means that I can pick up all the poisonous gases, and I guess I'll get more. Maybe it'd balance out more quickly with that? I don't know. But yeah, Chipsy, so I like the idea of having a universal premix for me and the plants for breathing. But before we get on to that, you might notice there's a bit more going on here with my phase change loops than there was before. I built another loop because I was really curious as to whether I was getting any actual benefits from having a pollutant loop versus having a water loop. Yeah, Daz, I don't want to balance each room independently. I want to have the whole base on the same thing because I want to have all the doors open. I explicitly don't want individual rooms. There's the... If there are some plants later on that I try and grow that need a specific thing that's not breathable for me and the other plants, then that room can have its own independent setup. But for the rest of the base, I explicitly do not want independent setups. That's something I just dislike the idea of forcing a base into separate segments in a game where having a pressurized base is such an achievement. It just feels wrong to me. It just feels like I'm playing a game rather than building a living space. Like, obviously, I'd still have the rooms, because you'd still want to have safety doors in case there's a blowout, in case there's a mistake somewhere, and then you have the, like, lockdown style, all the doors shut and things are disconnected. Because then you hopefully don't poison the entire base at once. That's just a safety device. But I think I don't like the idea of having to manage multiple different rooms. It's just it just feels wrong to me. It just doesn't feel like a fun way to build my base. It's a me thing. I get why people do it, but I just feel like it's not as fun as trying to make something that can balance all the needs reasonably well and work for everything everywhere. Thanks to Fraggle. Jeez, thank you, Faye. Thank you for the Prime sub and having to quickly do the maths for why you said second Twitch baby. Thank you, Series. Thank you, Zolbrok, for the Prime sub as well. And Orion. And Series, thank you, for even more bits. Thank you. So... So, onto these phase change loops here. So, we have my pollutant one, which is currently got a latent heat transfer of 4 kilojoules. Yeah, about that. On each of the devices. And then I've got my water one, which is running in parallel to this pollutant one. So I built it in parallel because I wanted to see if over time the water one started to exceed the pollutant one. Because I wanted to see if it was genuinely better at the temperatures I'm working at. Because down here, we look at this first loop. Oh, that's actually quite a lot lower than it used to be. But this one was up around 20 kilojoules previously. Oh, there we go, 18 at this end. Like, this loop is moving a lot of heat. This one, not so much. This one's about the same as what the pollutant was able to do. So I was trying to figure out why. And I don't know. I assume there's something related to the temperature differentials that these are working at. But I wasn't sure that the pollutant loop was actually doing me any favors at all. So I wanted to figure that out. And I haven't really come to any conclusions yet because I don't think this water loop has reached steady state yet. Because there's still a lot of liquid down this end. And apologies about the coughing. And it seems to, every time I check this, have a slightly different amount of heat moved. So I don't know what's going on there. But either way, adding the extra loop has slightly improved my gas cooling. The batches have finally reached a point where they are being moved all the way from the end here through. Because this one's at 30 megapascals, this one's at 30.1, but when this next batch, which is just being cleared now, goes out, then we pump that in. This just dropped briefly below 30, so it's getting pumped from the other side. And we got some water that's getting pumped out. And the temperature drop is quite rapid. So yeah, Daz, water can move more energy per mole. Quite significantly more than pollutant. If we look at pollutant, you'll see that its latent heat is, its specific heat is 24.8 joules per Kelvin. And if we look at water, it's 72 joules per Kelvin. So it's quite a lot more. And water is the highest of the ones that well, it's the highest that works anywhere in this range. And because I'm only cooling gas down within this range, I shouldn't need to use a different thing. The only reason that pollutant might be advantageous is that it's working at higher pressures. So I'd have more moles of it to potentially use to transfer that heat. So that's why I wasn't sure which one would actually work better in this circumstance. Yeah, Chipsticks, it'd be kind of handy to overlay some of those phase change graphs. Just to see where they line up and where to best set things. Thanks, Ramones. Thank you for 2 years. And Meadmaker, thank you so much for 4 months. Hope work's not too rough. Okay, so, gas mix. I guess there's an advantage of having a setup where I can pull gases separately to the pushing. Because I just realized one. What if I do blow a room? What if a room does explode? Then I need to be able to vacuum out that room before I connect it back up to the system again. So to do that, I would need to have an evacuation system. So having flow through should enable that to be a thing. My idea would be that at every room that's separated by a lockdown, like a... Oh. The game just crashed. Like, crashed, desktop crashed. Yep, new daycare disease. New pediatric plague. But yeah, what I was thinking was everywhere that I have an airlock sort of separator, I would also have a digital valve which can then be shut off. When the airlock locks down, the digital valve shuts off and disconnects that room from all networks. So that would be my thought around that system. So if I'm going to do that, I still need these two pipes, but I probably will end up painting them different colors. So let's go turn off the CO2 pump that I left on. Yeah, we're up to 70 kilopascals in here. That'll be all right. Not going to run out of CO2 anytime soon. Even with all the ferns that I'm growing. So I just got to think about how this is going to work before I start laying it out. So what I need, probably... What do I use? Do I use powered? Powered vents just seem like that's going to be a whole lot of extra complexity in terms of wiring. Because I'd need to be able to control them from far away. Although, same case for any isolated... Actually, I could lock down the whole system? Trying to think about how to make this work without it being just an enormous amount of cabling and stuff that I have to sort out, because I need... Any isolation systems need to be on the same cable network that runs all the way back to my gas handling room. Huh. Huh. I suppose the checks for the particular gases only need to be connected up to the airlock, which only needs to be local, so that's fine. So passive vents would work better, because if I had active vents in the rooms, they would have to be linked to various things, and that's just going to be a pain. All right. What if you just build an air room that controls the atmosphere, then you could add pipes to each room. If one room does something weird, close a valve. The downside of that, Torf, is that I would need to have individual pipes running the length of my base for each room. And that's going to get a lot of rooms, which means a lot of pipes. And keeping track of which one goes where is going to be reliant on me putting signs on the pipes, because there would be that many. And I'm not even sure I've set up myself with enough room to do something like that. Ah, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought I had this worked out and, like, calculated in my head. But apparently I did not. Like, I was literally thinking about this going, I think I've got an idea of how I'm going to do this. I think I know what I'm going to do. Oh yeah, that's also full of food. Oh, I should throw some of that. Because I've been gradually dealing with the crops to get them to regrow. In preparation for turning it all into biofuel, was it? So then I can turn the biofuel into volatiles. So if I'm thinking about making a safe gas mix, what I really need, I don't actually need to have any sort of tank for it, because the room should be providing the volume that I need. So what I want to do is have a safe, breathable mix. And what color do... Oh, I need to make a tool maker. I need to rebuild my tool printer because I need more colors. So I need to pick... I think we need to go purple for my breathable air. What do I need for the tool printer? Why purple? Because there's no other gas that's purple. So if you look at all the gases, these are the colors in use. Huh, polluted water's khaki. And purple doesn't feel threatening. And it was the color that I could remember. Could do pink as well. Although pink always feels a bit iffy to me because it's the color of the volatile ice. Obviously not an issue on Venus that much, but because of being the color of the volatile ice, I've never been a fan of using pink for anything that's good. One second. Alright, let's not put that where I put it last time. Can I fit that there if I move the cable? Or is that gonna... That's probably gonna interact with the tank fill. We'll see. Dude. Let's see if it'll let me place it. Oh, yep. That works. Okay, what does this want? I think... Yeah, iron sheets. Always the iron sheets for the basic stuff, and you never have them around. Do I have any on the shelves? Doesn't look like it. No stacker. Definitely not stacker for tools. Who needs a stacker for tools? Who produces that many tools? Wait, what do you produce from the tool manufacturer that needs... Is there anything I'm forgetting? Mining charges, I suppose. Okay. You can make paints now, can't you? Yes. So these are the color options I have. That's nitrogen. That's water. That's mixed bad stuff. That's nitrous oxide. CO2. Other mixed stuff, but now also dirty water. Orange is your default, but which would also often for me be fuel. Pink I stay away from because it looks very similar in color to the volatile ice, even though volatiles themselves are red. Purple's not used, white is oxygen, and yellow is pollutant. So you really don't have many color options outside pink and purple for your what you choose to do with them. So that's, and purple containing more blue than pink, because pink is just a mix of white and red. This contains some blue, which makes it colder. So therefore is my breathable gas. Since you're already going to have to do a minimum 2 gas lines to every room via a mains tunnel for main power and gas for the whole base, ideally, adding an additional line for CO2 that is dedicated to the greenhouse along it wouldn't be much more effort, and you can limit your idea of a premixed breathing gas line to... I don't think that cuts down on complexity at all, Barnaby. I think that makes it more complex because I need 2 separate systems. When I could just mix a gas that's happy for me and the plants everywhere. That sounds heaps more complex. Oh, I also stacked my ingots because I got bored. And I thought it'd be funny to have my mess on the ground actually somewhat neat. Go get the purple spray paint. Oops, closed the wrong one. Okay, so I need to get my spray painter out. Then I need to also probably wait, let's empty this one I'm thinking about. I need to then have a pump. Oh wait, I've got a pump. So I need to pump out all the CO2 from that line. Probably don't strictly need to. But I'll pump all the CO2 out of that line and make it into my breathables line, the CO2 line. So I'll turn the CO2 line into my nice gas mix, because the only room that's properly piped up so far, anyway, is the greenhouse. So if I just repaint this CO2 line and make it my breathables line, then I've already got one laid out. And then the black one, the nitrogen line, or was going to be nitrogen line, can be turned into my pull the gas out line. And again, I remember that I probably should have added the network painter mod to make this a bit easier. So we go to there, then I'm going to break this line. I'm going to go into the greenhouse and turn on the pump so that I evacuate that line. Not that it strictly needs to be, because it's CO2, it can all just get pumped and mixed in with the air mix anyway. Hey, Nev. Gandalf, you might think that inviting someone like Shadow to fix all this system would be the least work, but Shadow and I have differing opinions on having a whole base breathable versus not. When we were doing Terraformers, she wanted to make the whole... wanted to have everything isolated and do it perfect for the plants versus perfect for the people, and I was like, no, I just don't want to deal with airlocks. I don't want airlocks anymore. There'll probably be more work. Yeah, we never got to the point of that, but we were close, Nev. We were close. Once we'd evacuated the main service corridor, we were close to then being able to make it breathable and pass everything through. So one of the things that's going to happen as I work on what I'm working on right now is this filtration system here in the greenhouse will be removed and will go out to the gas handling area. Because this line will remove gas from this room. Oh wait, that's my waste heat line. Huh? Never mind, that should not have been painted green. Oh, do I have a grey spray paint in here? Just forgotten what one of the lines did. I don't have a grey! I gotta get a grey. I gotta go fix that. Oops. Noble Hunter, when I've been building my proper rooms, as in the rooms that I feel are complete, I've been building full steel frames around them to make it much less likely that I cause a breach. But it's still possible, particularly when you're working on expanding a room, that you mess up and create a space that's going to be a problem. Oh yeah, I could have done the pipe. Dang it, Shadow Drake, you're absolutely right. And I should have done that. I have grey pipe in my inventory. I could have just replaced the existing pipe with it, rather than going and getting spray paint. Pipes are able to be labeled with pipe labels, and I should probably do that at some point. Okay. So that's my coolant line. Oh, there's my nitrogen line. Right. That's the one that that needs to go to green. I know I've already got this green one, but I'm going to make a new one. Because I like that they all neatly come through the floor. So basically this one will be hooked up to passive vents in the room. This one will be hooked up to passive vents in the room. And then the airlock will be connected up to digital valves that can shut off these when they need, if they need to be. But that's not something I have to sort out just yet. That's something I can add as I start isolating the rooms. So the airlock things, I will have to use an actual airlock script on IC10, like the one that I'm going to say it this way, even though I know the truth is Nev really wrote it himself. Nev and I wrote together. I'm going to use something like that, because then you can have its own checks and balances built in that allow the doors to be open when things match, and force the doors closed when they don't. Alright. So... what is sitting in this black line right now? Nitrogen. Again, not too big a deal if I just leave that nitrogen in there when I connect it up to everything else. So let's paint this. Thankfully, not accidentally painting any of the frames while doing that, which I'm kind of surprised about. I was expecting I would mess that up at some point. Okay, so those are my air lines. Waste air coming out, good air going in. The waste air... Waste air should... in an ideal world, where I handle my gases really quickly, and the gases aren't super hot, my thought had been to have the waste air going into the big mixed pollutant tank, so then it can just go through the system as I've currently got it set up. However, I don't think I'm really in a good position to do that. So what I'm thinking I would do instead is kind of run that line the same way I had before. Which is effectively have a pollutant filter and a nitrous filter and a volatiles filter coming off them that then connect up to... Actually, it could connect to the cold waste. No, I don't really want to do that. Do I? Could connect it up to the cold waste, couldn't I? This is very hard to figure out. There's a lot to work out here. This is complicated. Chuck, right now, all I'm working out is how to pressurize the greenhouse properly. That's the system I'm going to build right now, is how to pressurize the greenhouse properly. Because the living quarters are not complete, so I'm not going to connect the two properly until I expand the living quarters. But I wanted to get the greenhouse automatically managed first. The main reason I don't want to dump my mostly good air mix into this is that that's going to go through more filters than it needs to. because it'll have to go through the O2, the nitrogen, and the CO2 filters again, which seems unnecessary. That's why I was thinking of having separate filters pulling off the pollutant and pulling off the nitrous and pulling off the volatiles, because everything else can stay in, because that's all we've got. Suppose I could have something pulling off the water as well, if water ends up in it. But it feels like a separate system might be easier. Also, how do I decide when I've got waste gas to manage? This is so hard. I don't understand what I'm doing. All right. Because I'm trying to think through so much right now, and it's overwhelming me. And I'm making zero progress as a result. All right. Let's solve one problem at a time, and then deal with and come up with a solution to whatever happens after that. So what I need to do first is have a system that's going to add the correct gases to the breathable air. Where shall I set that up? I need a monitoring station for purple line to see. I need a pipe thingy to monitor that. And I think that can check ratios as well, can't it? Yeah, so it gives me ratios. So once it's reached pressure, I just have to make sure that all of the ratios stay at their happy levels, and if not, then I pump in certain amounts of other things, and once the pressure exceeds a certain value, then turn on the pumps to pull air out, and that should be fine. Something that's probably making me more worried about this than I need to be is the fact that I've got so much accumulated waste gas. In theory, while I'm distracted doing a bunch of other things, this waste gas should eventually get down to zero. At which point, pumping my cold, mostly sorted gas from my living space into it seems like not such a dumb idea. Alright. So let's go to get a few pumps. Do I need turbo pumps for this? Or can I get by with regular pumps? That is not a regular pump. I thought I had some regular pumps here. Oh, there they are. I think I just need normal pumps. Don't need to do anything super quick. So I need a pump for the CO2, I need a pump for the oxygen, I need a pump for the nitrogen. And then I need pipe analyzer, which needs some gold. Should just need the one pipe analyzer. Because if I'm connecting this via passive vents to all the rooms, the pressure will be equalized, so I don't need to check the waste one. And oh, and I need a fourth pump, because I need a pump for the waste line. Okay. I'm also just going to dump something that I'm carrying that I don't need to be carrying. Pipe organs are very, very slow for gas outlets. Okay. Paint's back on shelf. So I think I can probably start setting that up on the ground over here. Since O2, CO2, and nitrogen are just up there, so it's not too much of a stretch to bring them here. Or I could do it all the way down this end instead, actually. Yeah, let's do it here. So, we go. Actually, I might do this vertically. So it might look cooler. Against the wall, out from the wall. Out from the wall. So that's where the oxygen, CO2, nitrogen come down. Then we also have this connected to the pump that pushes it back into the brown tank when the pressure's too high. Why not 3 lines to the greenhouse and use basement space there? Because the basement space in the greenhouse was intended for storage specific to the greenhouse. This is for the whole base. The reason I want this pump here, even though it does make it have to go a bit further, is that I want to pump... Oops. I want to kind of keep all these things close together so that I can know where I've got to go to fix them when I inevitably realize I've stuffed it up. Okay. 3 down, go to the mix. 1 up goes back to bad. Shiraz, I'm not going to use a sensor. I'm going to use a pipe analyzer to see what's in the room, because if the rooms are connected via any brain, if the rooms are connected via passive vents, then what's in the room is what's in the pipe. As long as there's an adequate number of passive vents, they will equalize rapidly. So as long as that's the case, then I don't need to analyze what's in the room. I can just analyze what's in the pipe, and that means I can have it all analyzed here. So I'm bringing the analysis all local to the handling here. Yeah, never. I feel like maybe I want to have a pump as well. Actually, probably what I want, you're right, is, and you and someone else suggested, and I've missed it already, to have a back pressure regulator but I think I also want to set up the turbo pump. So I have my evacuation set up as well. So I won't have a regular pump. Get rid of that. Then go back pressure regulator. Once I can figure out how to rotate it to the correct way that I want it. So we have a back pressure regulator and alternatively a turbo pump that can bypass that, which would be for manual use. I can never work out which way I'm rotating things. Okay, now I need spray paints. So I can remember which one's which. So these are... No, that. Those are for that. And let's color the others. So I've got nitrogen, CO2, and oxygen. Cool. Then I need to start hooking up them to the network. And my idea will be that, as I said before, for the network that these are going to be pumping into, I will have lots of inline tanks, so the pipe volume is quite high. Need those not to be quite as far along as they are. Oops. Oh, I've removed a pipe that I actually do want to keep. I want to keep these running through here now. Fortunately, I've got quite a large base, so the reservoir of breathable gas that I'll have in the base is going to be fairly substantial, no matter what else I do. The pipe, the pipe volume does matter, even if you're connected to large rooms, because the passive vents don't equalize instantaneously. They do take time. And because they do take time, you need to, if you're going to utilize that, you want to make sure that you're not being broken because of the time that that takes. I think this will be neat enough. Possibly we'll move these two lines to be on a slightly different route to what they currently are, because they're currently aligned with the CO2 and nitrogen. I might need to change that. Does passive flow throughout the base is very slow. So I would rather have... rather not take advantage of just flow through doors. It's very slow. here? No. Yeah. Oops. Just trying to make these all nice and neat. So I think I remember Nev talking to me about this before, and he's brought it, he mentioned in the chat just a couple of minutes ago, that his idea was to have constant flow within the system that controls the gases for the base. And to do that, I quite like the solution that he had for it, which was basically this back pressure valve will be set at, say, for example, 95 kilopascals, whereas the system controlling these three will be set at 100 kilopascals. So constantly gas will be being pulled from the vents that are connected to this system, and constantly these ones will be adding gas from this side, which should, in theory, result in gas turnover within all the rooms. My idea would be that the passive vents that are connected to the waste system are on one side of a room, and the passive vents connected to the good gas are on the other side, creating flow within all of the rooms. That's my concept, anyway. We'll see how poorly or not it works. Because it seemed to work okay within the greenhouse for getting rid of the pollutants and stuff. That was Charlie leaving the room, not joining the room. And apparently she's got a little bit too much energy this morning. I got white paint in here? I think I do. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Yep, cannot wait to go for a walk. She's about to be taken for a walk. What do I do with these ones down here? Right. Definitely added more stuff that could be done with this gas system than I strictly need, with the fact that I'm using a hot gas furnace rather than a combustion furnace. At least for the moment. That's what I'm using. Just trying to put lines in like this so that I know that's where they are later. I guess I may do some stuff with combustion later. I've read a lot of comments in chat from people complaining about the speed at which electronic centrifuges run. Oops. Charlie is 3, and she's still just as much of a lunatic now as she was when she was still genuinely a puppy. The energy has not dissipated at all. Yeah, and then there's the water generation side of things, that's true. That's going to be the other use for having those lines. Okay. That's tidy. I think what I'll do with these, instead of having them floating, is I'm going to bring them down to the ground. Ooh. That's an unfortunate arrangement. Dang. We're gonna have to do a little hop up and over with the green line because it's on because these are reversed. Oh well. Actually, did I reverse them? Back pressure regulator. Which way am I going in? Which side of this pipe? It's... Oh, I always forget. Base area and top. Okay, yeah. And then the brown waste pipe goes up to there. Cool. Oops. Why do I have them up and over the block instead of through it in the corridor? What? I don't know why I left this block here. I don't know. But I've left it there now, and it's there now. I just... It was... Yeah. Don't know. I don't have a good reason for that. Just is what it is. Okay, then pipe analyzer. Cool. Now just gotta set up the car key side of things. Car key and brown.
Hunger caution.
Right. So I need the car key line to come in at the top. Oh. Oops. It's got to come from there. Oops. This needs to go over the top. I might just do this. Run along this wall. I'm sure some of this piping is going to need to be redone at some point. Actually, I'm going to keep that out of the wall. When I put... Because I do want to eventually make this room nice and actually complete, rather than all exposed steel frames and bedrock. And because these pipe networks may need to be modified later, I do want to make sure that I can access them. That's why I'm building a lot of them out from the walls and floors. Plus, it's pipe spaghetti and it looks cool. Crazy Canuck, it's just you North Americans that pronounce it weird. I say with a grin. Outside of North America, no one pronounces it khaki. Because of the H, making it a long R sound. Oops, that needs to be brown. I say this knowing full well it's going to rile someone up in the YouTube comments. And that in the past, some of the people who've been riled up so much that they've started just sounding more like trolls than actually people discussing something. And how much I do so delightfully love that YouTube has a shadow ban feature. Might be something along those lines, Crazy Canuck. Might be. Alright. So, brown line. How can I... Alright. This... Oh, what am I going to do? So run along the side. Then under. If I bring it up here, maybe? No. I think maybe... I'll just take it along the floor, but then I've got to jump up and over the purple line, which I don't like. I mean, even... Look at the color. It's probably not that surprising that it does sound suspiciously similar to the word for poop in German. It is, worryingly similar to some of those sorts of things. I think what I'll do is this. I'm going to start at this end, and then see where I end up. Oops. Keep placing that last tube when I shouldn't be. Brown pipes must be for the chocolate. Oh dear. Hopefully I'm okay doing this, I think. The more I go through this, the more I realize I was completely wrong saying that Capac's maintenance corridor was too big. In the Terraformers save we had. Because wow, having all that space made handling where the pipes went and keeping them neat so much more doable. I don't think I acknowledged it openly, Nev. I think you had. I think you appreciated the size, but I was like, it still felt too big. It felt too much like a main corridor. Alright. So. What have we got in these lines? Why has that got a tiny bit of pollutant in it? That's going up. What have I just connected to? Oh! That's actually connected to my filter. No, wait, this is the room. Let's look at the room. I'm an idiot. Don't mind me. So I keep leaving small amounts of CO2 out here. The other thing, I guess... yeah. Throughout, in each room of the base, I should also set up a powered vent, a large powered vent that's hooked up to this system that can be optionally turned on to vacuum out a space if it becomes poisoned. Although, perhaps... oh no, that should be rare enough, it should be fine to hook it up to that system. Can I get the power line to the oxygen pump? Yep. Because if you go with a curved wire there, all works just fine. I'm glad you asked me that though, because I didn't think about it as I put that pipe there. So it could have easily been something I stuffed up. But fortunately, those two are allowed to be in the same space. Like that. They won't be connected to the same vents, Sophie. They won't at all. They'll be on separate vents that create flow by having them on opposite sides of the room. And because of the way that Stationeers now does the gases propagating, if there's higher pressure on one side, then you will get genuine flow of the bad gases towards the bad empty things. A little bit anyway. And it just kind of looks nice having a little bit of air movement within the room. Because if this is lower pressure than the pressure within this system, there'll be constant flow into it. Which, yes, means I'll be constantly using up my filters, which is annoying, but... okay. So... next thing is to connect this up to power and to IC, a little IC setup. And since this is an important system, I think this is going to get an APC.
Power low.
Let's make it a power. Copper. Give me some copper. No, tough. If gases don't mix upstream, then the analyzer on the outgoing line is exactly where I want it to be. Because the outgoing line is the line that needs to be correct. I don't care what's in this. Because that's going to get recycled. I care what's in this.
Hunger critical.
Does that make sense? I think it makes sense to me. Sounded right as I said it out loud, but that doesn't always mean truth to me. Where do I want to put this? Do I want to have stuff in behind here as where my IC and everything is? Put this here. Oh. You can put this here like that. Yeah, originally, Toff, I was going to try and make it more efficient so I didn't have to filter stuff that I didn't need to. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized having a system that just chews through filters is probably the easier to manage system. So I figured I'd go this way with it. And let's get rid of the heavy breathing. Just honestly the most motivating thing about the food and water. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I got muffin. Oh, wait, I don't need to. I still got muffin left. Okay. Back to work. No, I don't have to take the whole suit off to eat the muffin, but whenever I'm in a breathable space, the more time I spend with my suit off, the more my hygiene improves, and the happier I am, which means the longer my food and water supplies that I consume while I'm in there last. So I've made it a habit for myself to now take off the entire suit every time I do it. I need more heavy cable. Which means I'm gonna need more gold, probably. Yes. Alright. Have a bit, but not a lot. Yeah, that's gonna be hot enough. Wait, this is empty, right? Yep. Just do that much for now, in case I want to make an alloy later. Alright. That should last me a little bit. Am I going to need a transformer before my APC to make sure I don't cook the cable dumping into that nuclear battery? Yeah, I thought I would. Do I? I think I might. Do APCs regulate it? APCs only charge... Oh, do APCs only... Hang on. They don't regulate power pass-through, but they only charge. Okay. Cool. So that's fine. I'm not going to be pulling too much power through it anyway. Couldn't remember. So all I remembered was that I have burnt cables around APCs before. This'll do for now. How much copper do I have in there? Gonna need more cable coils anyway, so let's just order those up, and hopefully I'll have a nice messy stack by the time I've laid out the heavy cable. Do. Okay. That's hooked up. And I just need those normal cables, which may well I have enough of now. And then I need an IC housing. Yeah, you can put a transformer or a fuse after the APC if you want to be extra safe. So you don't pull through too much through. Am I planning on being extra safe? Probably not. Because I'm pretty confident I won't add extra things to this network that I'm setting up right now, so it shouldn't be a problem. Metas, yes, I would recommend Stationeers if you like this sort of engineering game. If you like a game that gives you more problems than you can ever quickly solve and gives you options for doing really crazy over-engineering of solutions, which can be really fun. Some people don't like its unique, let's say, inventory system, where you have to sort of double handle a lot of things, and I can totally respect why that would be the case, why some people dislike that. But once you get used to it, at least for me, it was kind of a non-issue. Should be a stacker kit on the floor for those cables to stack on top of. Yeah. I think that's more the timing of when you started playing, at least from what I could tell from when you started playing. It doesn't, like, the game hasn't reworked much over. It's reworked a lot that's changed how the game works, but not in such a disastrous way that you're constantly changing what you know. Like, I've been playing Stationeers since it was released, and a lot of my original knowledge is still applicable. But if you started learning the game just before phase change came out, you would definitely feel like the game has changed a lot. But really, phase change was the only, oh my god, I've got to completely rework how I think about everything thing. Everything else has stayed quite stable. Like, they've shifted some of the materials you require for certain things, sure, but it's not been anything too drastic, to be honest. Daz, halt and catch fire is, I'm pretty sure, just there as a bit of a gag command. It's a program. It's programmer humor. Uh, like, I completely agree that phase change was a very cool update. I certainly wouldn't want them to. I'm glad they did it. And I'm glad that they're willing to, for a game like this, break a lot of things to try and get it to the end point they were hoping to get to.
Air tank low.
Alright. That's all wired up. Let's get my label maker out. I mean, sure, the rockets have changed a lot, but rockets, very late game stuff, and I always got the impression that that was a very much work in progress thing anyway. Back pressure regulator shouldn't need to be touched. That shouldn't need to be touched. That's a manual override. One second. I'm just going to quickly fill my water bottle, as it has run out. And this annoying daycare disease. My throat all scratchy. Still, this daycare disease does not feel anywhere near as bad as the last daycare disease. As well, I've got the bit of a cough and a bit of a sniffle. I don't feel like death warmed up. Right. Okay, so because apparently, so my opinion that the game hasn't changed a lot in terms of how things work is because I'm talking about how the physics, atmospherics, important stuff works. How you actually stick things together isn't the challenging learning part in Stationeers to me, because that's just something you can trouble out and figure out if you understand the other systems properly. Or in theory, that should be how it works. For me, Stationeers is always drawn on stuff I learnt at university more than stuff I learnt through playing the game. So the stuff I learnt around chemistry and all of that has been more important to me than actual just being able to follow a specific guide on YouTube. And that's what I always tried to highlight when I was making the tutorials for this was I'm going to give you some of the game stuff, but also the this is why stuff, because I think the this is why is more important. All right, so enough of that. Let's actually try and make a gas mix. So my thinking about this system is that I will check. Oh wait, I should actually probably hook this up to passive vents. No, it should be okay. Hmm. Metaz, the DLC are 100% completely, absolutely optional and just things that you do, that you would buy to support the devs and what they're doing. It is not something you require to have or really add to the game in any meaningful way, except for that. Yeah. How do I want to do this in terms of getting up to the desired atmospheric pressure? I think I probably just want to turn on both the oxygen and CO2 lines to get up to pressure. And then once at pressure, try and fiddle with, then the mix starts happening. Yeah, I suppose I could hook this up to the dining room first and test there. It's probably not a bad idea. Let's do that. No, Barnaby, I'm not going to run out of both gases before I get filled. I might run out of O2, but I'm not going to run out of CO2. I got heaps. I have heaps. Have a look. That is going to be more than enough to reach pressure. Alright, so if I'm going to test this with the dining room, I need a way to get gas lines out of the dining room. Where the heck can I access that? Do I have enough space in the roof for the airlock? No. Wall of the airlock? No. Floor of the airlock? No. Just basically no. That's annoying. could, I think, pass something up through here, though. Because that'll be on the floor. We can just start with that, and then I can disconnect that system once I've tested that it is actually working. Alright. Let's just... I'll poke one through and see what happens. See what I can see on the other side. So... let's see where that is. It's probably behind the fridge. Oh no. Ah! Perfection! Cool. Shove this here so that I know where it is as well. Then I'll repaint it khaki on the other side. Oh yeah, I could have used the Meson scanner thing. Maybe? I'm not sure that would have helped me with the way that room's laid out. Okay, got both types of pipe that I need. I'm gonna need more pipe. Alright, let's get that started. Okay. So. This will be the green one. I'm gonna just join it up to, say, over here. One rule of this game, you never have enough pipes or wires. Yeah. So true. Even if you're drowning in them, you still don't have enough. Just make sure I have got this as the correct pipe. Yep, just full of nitrogen. That's fine. Wonder how long this particular temporary solution will last. Also, why did I do that? Oh no, that's right. Why did I do brown? I want purple. That's what I did wrong. Let's try that again. I will acknowledge having the stacker on the pipe thing is kind of helpful. There's a few too many, pipes get a bit too messy. Where's my drill? Hate how often I do that. Use the last one up. No, the purple's not CO2. Purple is breathable. It is currently full of something. CO2. Oh no, it's empty. Oh yeah, this is empty. I know why it's empty. Because I pumped it empty. That was my plan. Need to turn off that pump inside the greenhouse before I start doing anything with this. Did Terraformers assembly again, getting Nev to script automatic production so there's always 2 to 4 stacks of each. Wouldn't have to be Nev doing the scripting. Sure, between Shadow and myself, we could probably come up with something that would do that. At least for pipes and cables. So there's always some for people to use when they want to do a building project. But the trouble is making a system that auto-produces means you've got to also have massive storage for everything and organized storage, which means by the time you're actually doing that, it's kind of a bit of a moot point as to whether you have that or not. Because most of the big stuff's been built. You weren't properly listening and heard your name, did you, Nev? It's all good. It wasn't said in any bad way. Okay. Nope. I am back here too soon. I need a couple of passive vents. Do I have any on here? No. Couple of passive vents is all I need. Yeah. Oh, now I'm trying to remember the discussion that we had in the Discord about insulated passive vents and regular passive vents. And I don't remember the outcome. I remember that it was kind of irrelevant. Unless you stick them in walls. Alright, so this is going to change the pressure in here significantly, which might be a problem, but that's why this is the test room. Yep, we're going to drop pressure. That's fine. No, Sophie, remember, the answer we came to was that frames don't leak heat. It's only walls. Remember? That was the outcome. Frames may have used to, but they don't anymore. That was what UFOls and everyone's testing that we did. So, let's begin. No, they didn't for pipes either, Sophie. No. That was the window or the wall. Frames were safe. Whatever the bugs were that frames didn't do that for a time, that's no longer a thing. Frames are perfectly safe. That was the conclusion. That's why I remembered that it wasn't something I had to worry about, because I usually, if I need something insulated, will have frames, not just a wall. Ever since I stuffed up and put the pipe cowl on the ceiling, equalizing Martian atmosphere to the internal space that I was trying to isolate from it. Because I was a dope. I was a dope. Right. So what am I doing? I need to remember how to code. Let's begin by putting some devices on some pins. CO2 pump. Nitrogen pump. O2 pump. And analyzer. Those are the 4 devices I need. O2. Pump. No, wait. CO2. No, not CO3. Pump. D0. Alias. N2 pump. D1. Alias. O2 pump. D2. Alias. Analyzer. D3. Okay. So, oh, this is gonna hurt my brain so much. This is gonna hurt. Oh. The back pressure regulator is already preset at 95 kPa. So, I need to be... Ideally, I want to have at least, for safety margin, 25% CO2. Sorry, not 25% CO2, 25% O2. And then similarly, 25% CO2, and then nitrogen can, then any mix of the others can make up the rest. How much nitrogen do I have in storage? I don't think I have a lot of nitrogen. Got lots of CO2, so CO2 is going to make up the bulk of the atmosphere for a while. Oop. Yeah, not a huge amount of nitrogen. For those not aware of what I just did, I have made it so that the devices hooked up to these particular pins, which I selected via using a screwdriver. So you can see CO2 pump, nitrogen pump, oxygen pump, are now labeled nicely in the code so that I can just use the label instead of having to use device 0, 1, or 1, 2, or 3. So, how do I do this? Because what I want to do is make sure that I get the room to pressure because I want it to run at 100 kPa. And then I want to make sure that that pressure is from the right gas mix. The right gas mix at 100 kPa should be 25% O2, 25% minimum 25% O2, minimum 25% CO2, and I think soybeans don't need a huge amount of nitrogen, but they need some. Does it say anywhere in here? Nitrogen, 8.64 moles per hour. Guess that means at least 1%. So I suppose what I could do is check the pressure in the system. If the pressure is low, or like, yeah, if the pressure's below 100 kPa, then I need to figure out what gases are in there and decide which one to add. If any of them, if O2 is less than 25%, add O2. If CO2 is less than 25%, add CO2. If both of those, if nitrogen is less than 5% to give myself a buffer, add nitrogen. Then how am I going to make it continue that until it reaches pressure? So I guess I load into Sophie, I saw the message. I didn't read it enough to understand what it relevance was, and I wasn't ready to deal with that at that time, so I kind of just ignored it because it was too soon for me to work it through. I was dealing with other issues at the time, and I find it really distracting when I'm trying to sort something out that then I start thinking about some other issue that's really complex, and I'm like, nope, noping out of this right now. Need to pick one that has a minimum and a maximum. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If at least one of them has a minimum and a maximum, then it should work out. Composter, yes, there are mixing valves, but mixing valves don't rebalance when this gets wrong. And they require equal temperatures and stuff coming in, which I do have, but they're not ideal for this situation. You want something a bit more nuanced. Actually, yeah, you're right, Sophie. If I effectively calculate the partial pressure, which means I need to load, let's go into, R15, analyzer, pressure. So that gives me my overall pressure in kPa. Then I also want to load, in fact, I'm going to alias a couple of these. Alias R15. Oops. Alias pressure. R15. No. Room pressure. Alias CO2 partial pressure. Alias N2 partial pressure. Okay. Then load into CO2 partial pressure. Analyzer. Now, what is the logic type for that? Ratio. We just ratio nitrogen or ratio carbon dioxide, I think. Yes. Yeah, ratio carbon. Okay. Wait, is that capitalized? There we go. So now I've got the ratios. I've got the pressure. Um, then I can multiply the two together to get... Oh, right. Yeah, this is not partial pressure. This would be my ratio. Then I need to combine the two to create the partial pressure, and then I'm good. So it's multiply or something? How do I do that? Some maths thing. Hope. How do I do this? It's just mul? Okay. Register equals A times B. All right. I should probably alias this one as well, so that I've got the thing. I'm going to use up all my registers for once. Which means I probably didn't need to do all these aliases, but I'm doing them anyway so that I can make this more readable for later. I never use all my registers anyway. Multiply. This will be my CO2 partial pressure equals CO2 ratio times room pressure. N2 partial pressure equals N2 ratio times room pressure. And O2 partial pressure equals O2 ratio times room pressure as well. So now what I've done is I've loaded the necessary values into from the analyzer, which have taken pressure, my ratios of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and oxygen. Then I take those values, which are percentages of this pressure, multiply them together, which will give me the absolute value of the partial pressure of that gas. So say the room pressure is 50 kPa and it's 50% CO2. We do 0.5 times 50 kPa, which will give me 25 kPa, which is my partial pressure of CO2. Which means I can now target specific partial pressures of the gases, assuming that their totals are going to be over 100 kPa. Or around 100 kPa. So this should... yeah, this should be good. No, I don't want to pause while I'm coding. Because my gas cooling setup is currently running, and I want it to run for as much time as possible. I want it to just keep running. I'm happy to take breaks and go and eat and drink. I want it to keep running. The more time I use up leaving that system going, the better. I'm just going to save that, just in case the game does something horrible to me. So, if I want to make sure I've got my room to 100 kPa, how do I want to balance this best? How am I going to do this? Because at the moment, carbon dioxide is the easiest gas for me to get hold of. And that's likely to be the case going forward. So I think most of my atmosphere is going to be carbon dioxide. Barnaby, just going to recommend, if you're going to write a line of code, you need to explain why. One of the big challenges I have with reading chat when doing this is when people throw lines of code and I don't even know what the commands mean. It means nothing to me. It may as well be in completely non-Roman characters. It literally means next, like so little to me, there's no point. Oh yeah, good point. I should define the targets up the top. Oh, I can define them here. So define... CO2 target. Define N2 target. And define O2 target. Angst, this is not a mod. This is part of the core game, and so much so that they've got actually quite good guides within the game for the different various functions and things like that. It's all included, which is basically the only reason that I'm doing any coding, because I'm not a programmer. I'm terrible at this stuff. You can get away without doing any of this stuff. You can get scripts off the workshop and use them instead, but I think it's nice to learn some of this for yourself. Before I go and completely ruin my eating and drinking room, I'm just going to refill my water and food. Hopefully, this is still breathable in here. Oh yeah, it'll be fine. Haven't ruined the room yet. True, James, I could bring the laptop in here. That's probably not a bad idea. Let's go grab it. Yeah, Nev, I was thinking of doing that to begin with. If gas is below the minimum, turn it on. I guess I can do that because I've got the partial pressures of each gas. I could just do it if that gas partial pressure is below a set minimum, turn that pump on. If this gas is below a partial pressure minimum, turn this gas on. The thing that I'm trying to figure out though is how do I reach 100 kPa with that and not go way over? That's the bit that my brain is struggling to work through. Thanks, Mac. Thank you for the Prime sub. Water. Yeah. So if I set my CO2 target to be 50, this is going to be, my partial pressure will be in kPa, won't it? I think it does kPa, not rather than pascals. My N2 target at 25 and my O2 target at 25. Then I can go... So... What function do I want to use for this? Oh wait, need to do one other thing. That. In case I want to change it at some point. I'm sure I won't, but just in case. Use one of the set conditional functions. What? Is that of these ones? Register equals 1 if A is greater than or equal to 0, otherwise 0. What? What? I don't understand. Register equals 1 if A is less than B, otherwise 0. So that's going to set the register to that. And the register is going to be what I apply to the state of the pump. Okay, so probably set less than. Sure. What's that button do? Oh, it makes transparent. Yeah. Less than. Go R1. If A is less than B. If A... CO2 partial pressure is less than CO2 target. Then set CO2 pump on R1. Is that right? That doesn't feel right. Stores register value to logic type on device by housing index value. Okay, that looks fine. All right. So I'd kind of do that for each one. And then loop back to the start. Into pressure into target. Set into pump on R2. Okay. Hey Jay, how's it going? Oh, right, the register gets rewritten each time, so I don't need a separate one. Okay. Sure. Let's just save that. So, now I just need to think about the looping side of things. So, I need to turn these off now if they've exceeded the target. And this is where maybe I want to have a bit of what I've been told is hysteresis. So I have a bit of a range that they're happy with. Oh no, I don't need to turn them off because they'll turn themselves off when they reach that target. But don't I want... Wait. Shouldn't... Won't this constantly have them flicking on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off? Is that not good? Like, isn't that bad? Oh wait, no. That's not where that needs to be. All these loading bits need to be done repeatedly. Needs to go back up to here. Which now makes sense why people are telling me to move these up. Hey Robob. Welcome, Raiders. I guess with a, it's not perfect without hysteresis, but if you let it sleep for a second instead of just yielding, the effect is minimized. Yeah, alright. I'll do a sleep. Okay. So that should work. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. No, Wolfzoid, it does have an off, because as soon as the partial pressure exceeds that value, because I checked if it's less than, it'll switch that register to 0 and then turn it off. Because it's built into that set less than command that I used, apparently, which I'd missed initially. So we currently have the pipe analyzer telling us that we're at 55 kPa, and oxygen 84%, nitrogen 3%, carbon dioxide 12%. Let's see what happens. I have no idea what a BPR is, Sophie. I'm turned off when the conditional fails, yeah. Oh, the back pressure regulator, turn it on. Now, annoyingly, this is going to deplete my supplies, because actually that's a significant issue with this system. I have a problem. I have a big problem with this system, actually. I don't know if my throughput is going to be high enough to keep my CO2 and oxygen supplies adequate to run this constantly. I set this to 100, then it shouldn't steal it until it needs to. So it shouldn't steal yet. And I can drop that once I want gases cycling more. So for now, let's not have gas cycling. So carbon dioxide's going up. And nitrogen's trying to go up. The oxygen pump is off, as it should be. No error on first launch is better than most of my scripts, but that's because I'm often careless. Nev, it's also probably because you're trying to do more complicated things than what I'm trying to do here. This is looking like it should be good. Yay! Yeah, Toff. Once my big hot waste tank is empty, then this system should be workable. I've just got to get rid of the backlog. And the backlog is taking forever. Like, to the point that I'm wondering if it's worth the effort of setting up a parallel system to add even more cooling to this. Like, more ACs, more phase change cooling. But to do that, I'd also probably need to implement a, I'd need to put a solar array outside, which I'm thinking of doing because I can now make stellite, so I can make the proper solar panels. So I could add solar arrays to my power input, which should then balance the need of all that extra power that I'm probably going to use up. So with this setup, and because the back pressure regulator will make sure that it doesn't reach over, once it reaches 100 kPa, it's probably just going to stop. Well, actually, no, it won't. Because there's too much oxygen. If there's too much oxygen in the room, it'll keep pushing in CO2 until the CO2 reaches 50, which will then push some of the air in through this system. So this should eventually reach the goal. I'll be back in just a second. I need to take a quick bio break, and we see where this has gotten to by then. So, how's it going? Oxygen's coming down, nitrogen's still going up slowly. Still got a little bit of nitrogen in the line. Plenty of CO2. No oxygen to add because I don't have any oxygen in this system yet. Because the oxygen's been filtered off early. What I should probably work on now is moving my oxygen from my current setup and moving it into this tank here. Because at the moment, all of my oxygen is sitting in one of the spots out here, and I shouldn't be filtering it here. That's kind of redundant, since I've got an oxygen filter elsewhere. So I think it's all sitting in this tank right here. Yeah. And then I should set up this oxygen canister filler in my main filtration room. Since I don't really need to fill my tank all that often, I just need to have my waste tank empty as elsewhere. Okay. Yeah, Silent Fighter, this much CO2 in real life would kill you rapidly. You'd get very drowsy initially, and then you would eventually stop breathing. The CO2 would progressively acidify your blood, and that would stop most of your internal functions working, and you would die as a result. No, Takari, this wouldn't be death by hypoxia. This is death by hypercarbia. Or hypercapnia. The pure oxygen that we breathe in this game also creates problems. In that the oxygen in your alveoli of your lungs, so the tiny little gas sacs in there, that will all get absorbed, collapsing the little alveoli, progressively collapsing your lungs. So pure O2 breathing for a long time is also bad for you. No, Sophie, you'd get drowsy first. Just would happen rather rapidly. There are some interesting videos that I've seen in documentaries, nature documentaries. There are these, I don't know where in the world it is, but there are these little depressions in certain, I think they're like swampy bogs sort of areas that have just become pockets of concentrated CO2 with just tons of dead animals in them. Because one animal goes in there to try and eat something, dies. Another animal goes, oh, that looks tasty, goes in, dies. Another one goes in, and it just, the cycle persists until these things are just full of dead animals. Because CO2 being heavier sits in these depressions and can concentrate if there's enough in the local environment. Okay. Yeah, alright, that would be an option, yeah. Stop the current O2 filtering. Just close off this system entirely. And, build a new one. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Let's do that. Then I can go mine some gold and get some O2 flowing through to the other system. So, how do I remove it? So I want that to go straight through. Let's turn you off. Let's disconnect you. Have I got any O2 in that side of it anyway? No, that's empty anyway. I'll drop some of these pipes off because I've got no space. Yeah, Takari, that's probably those ones I'm thinking of. Okay. Let's get that. Now, if that's all empty, that means I can get rid of that heat exchanger as well. Yep. Okay, heat exchanger can go. Yeah, I imagine a lot of caves would have issues with the carbon dioxide building up and becoming problematic for the cave's inhabitants. Now let's get rid of this pump. Okay, so the other thing to do is get rid of this line that runs into the breathing room because it's not required anymore. That was how I was pressurizing it off my O2 line in the past. I'm also tempted to slightly modify the pressure on this airlock so we don't get a blast of air every time. But that's not that high a priority. Yeah, Nev, I think the terrifying nature of just a pocket of air that, if you happen to walk into it, can kill you and do so rapidly that you don't really have time to realize what's going wrong before you're incapacitated. I think the fear of that may be why that's stuck in my head. Because I definitely learnt about those things long before I learnt about how our brains cope with carbon dioxide and all that sort of stuff. That is stuff that I have to clarify for the medical students and stuff and things like that. Which is why I know it to a fair detail. That and I kind of needed it in my previous job. Sort of important. Wow, how long has it been since without a lung warning light? I haven't hurt my lungs in a very long time. But it's also more impressive with how long it's been since I had a hygiene light. I reckon that's the more impressive part. Okay, so we've got still 3,000 moles of oxygen in there. So I can just leave that as an isolated setup. It's currently cool enough to use, so I don't need to worry about it. And that can just be a backup until it runs out of gas. Excellent. So next up, I need to connect
Hunger caution.
what to what. This is the problem with this setup. It's all a gigantic mess. So that's the really hot stuff, and I don't want to accidentally connect that up. This is a blind-ended pipe, so I should get rid of it because it's going to make things confusing. I should just be able to connect that straight to there. And that's it. I'm done. Obviously, once I get rid of this. Okay, let's take these filters out. I think with the progress that I've made today, this will be heading towards... come on, brain. Catch up. This will be heading towards me making some sort of recycler soon. So I'm sure many people would be pleased to see me implement. I'm thinking about the, like a recycler and whether it's, something I really do want before I make my proper furnace room. I'm not sure about that. How's the power situation going? That is a good question. I haven't checked it in some time. Still very good. Still very good. I may still be duplicating my power through bugs, but I'm just ignoring that. Just clean these unnecessary parts up so that while I'm remembering what they do. Okay. This is positive. This is looking a bit tidier. We've removed some things that were redundant now. I need to go mine some gold so I can get some oxygen through in this system. But it's going to take a while for that oxygen to filter through. Because there is some oxygen in there. It's just... the 0.001% within that waistline, and then there's 0.02 millimoles. There's not even registering as a percent in this. This is why I need this to be a quicker system. At least for now. There's a part of me that wants to just throw it all out and start fresh, but that's so much nitrogen. I could possibly set up a temporary filter for pollutant to just throw that out. So I'm not even sorting it, but I guess that's what this filter's doing anyway. Doesn't really matter. I think I'm going to have to go down the route of building more power generation and parallelizing my cooling setup so that I can make it run a bit more quickly. Actually, that's a thought, Shadow Drake. Maybe I just need to parallelize my ACs that go to Venus temperatures. Minus 812, minus 43. But people wanting me to check the, these things. Oh, it's exploded. This has exploded. Uh-oh. So is that one. They both exploded. Well. How much did this explode? How many glasses bits blew out? Oof. A few. Quite a few. Yeah, I should have had a pressure regulator on here first. I think before I repair this, I'll put a back pressure regulator so that the pressure differential from inside to outside never gets above a certain value. That indoor storm last stream. Oh, it could have been this exploding. You're right. It could have been. These are normal windows. Padded windows, which give a 300 kPa difference. Whereas I think those ones might be normals. It doesn't show that these are damaged. Same with the steel frames. Okay, so that all exploded. That's good to know that it can explode. It's unfortunate that I discovered that at the point that both had exploded rather than just the test bed. Let's vent the seeds out because I'm out here. Leave the rice in there. Okay. So now I'll just go check on my atmospheric setup and see if it's working still. I was going to go mining, yes. But I realized that it's probably futile to do so right now because I have so much gas to be processed. It doesn't matter how much gold I put through there. It's probably not going to reach where I need it to. The oxygen. So I was trying to think about what I should actually be doing with that instead. And I feel like what I probably should be doing is what I've just talked about, which is creating parallel cooling setups. My thought on that was to pump all the pollutant out of this one, because it doesn't need to be pollutant. And then I've almost got a parallel setup here. So that's saying latent of only 800 joules, whereas this is saying, yeah, the water's completely taken over. Cool. So what I was going to do was basically build the identical system on top, because I've already effectively duplicated the other bit, and then have a second AC here. Just basically have two identical setups running. What would a different AC setup look like? If you can explain it to me, I might consider it. Trying it. Because the pollutants got too hot. Yeah, which they're always going to, so the pollutants shouldn't have been used at this stage. So what I'm going to do is make a pump, and I'm going to pump all the pollutants out, and I'm going to turn this loop off. Just stick with water, because I've got plenty of water, because I've... let's say... slightly occupied this trader for a while. Which I need the... I'm probably going to need to run the evaporation loop for a bit. So my thought was to get this thing emptied, I'm just going to empty it to the atmosphere. Because that's the cheapest way to do this. Let's see, would setting up a separate furnace that goes straight into O2 be advantageous? In the short term, yeah. In the long term, not so much. Like, I've been trying to make a system that doesn't rely on me building custom loops for every single little thing. That's been my goal here. And if I were to add something like that, I've kind of gone back a step, I feel. And I'm trying to avoid doing that because there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. If AC1's waste and input hooked together with AC2's output, and vice versa, then you have some one-way valves to ensure proper flow. That sounds super cheesy. That sounds like you're breaking the game to do it. I'm not on board with that. I know I'm doing it with the power, but that's just because I don't have an easy solution to my particular problems with the power if I don't do that. Okay, so what do we got in this pipe? Pollutant. Let's go. Pump on. Start getting that out of there. I think I still need to have my evaporation chamber running to keep pushing gas in. And I probably need to connect this loop up to that loop temporarily. As a general rule, when I play a game, I try to adhere to the spirit of what I believe the rules were meant to be. I try my best to adhere to the spirit of the rules, not the rules as written. It's just how I've always been. And yeah, everyone has different levels of acceptable things that they'll do to break. Some people love just figuring out how they can break a game, and to them the joy is in actually breaking it. Okay, lucky I got the purge valve here so I can get rid of all this gas easily. Should probably just set that to 0. I'm gonna need to rebuild a lot of this when I fill it with water anyway. But yeah, it's convenient that I'd sort of I'd built most of the complicated duplication of this system. So if I run the two in parallel, since it was working okay with just these two loops, if I run them in parallel, hopefully that's going to increase my heat throughput substantially and effectively cool my gases so that I can actually get some stuff done. And if I do that as well, what I thought I might do is maybe larger batches, but if the batches are getting overwhelmed, I don't think there's any real benefit in making them bigger anyway. Yeah, I'm sure Wasted will show up soon for Archean, but I think I'll keep working on this and see if I can see how much of this I can get done. Down to 355 kPa. This is down. Okay, so this is dropping. This side should be getting near to empty as well. Yeah, this was always going to run too hot for pollutant. I should have realized that I was just running too hot for it. Did I ever find out where the actual bottleneck in your cooling system is? No. Honestly, no. I think these air conditioners may well be part of the bottleneck because they're not reaching the temperatures that they could. So this one is only dropping it by 40 degrees. This one by 30-ish degrees. And this one similarly. So I probably need to have more air conditioners running here to get them down to temperatures that the water can work at. Because the peak temperature I can use the water at is 360 degrees. And 360-ish. And that's just barely what I'm reaching. So yeah, that's probably where the issues come in. I likely need to have 4 air conditioners there instead of 3. And I've got I suspect it took a while to reach that because I've got these decently high pressure pipes for the coolant. At least by my standards. So, with this rebuild, I will rearrange these so that I've got 4 ACs before the first water loop, I think. So if I have 4 on this loop, 4 on the upper loop as well, that should massively increase the throughput. In fact, I can probably fix this one now while this is still emptying out, because that's going to take a while. So let's go grab one of those units from out here. It's on the ground. I might as well bring both. Actually, let's deal with my food and water first. Oh, I need to print a muffin. I'm going to need to buy some more eggs soon. I'm going to run out of muffins. I'm planning on upping my power production with more ACs to be of any benefit. Probably a bit, but there's certainly going to be a point where the ACs would be better replaced by more phase change loops instead.
Oxygen low.
What? Why is my oxygen low?
Critical. Pressure critical. Oxygen critical. Low pressure.
Oh no. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. I know what's happening. Oh yeah, my room is really cold. Why is my room so cold? Oh. Why is that at 10 degrees? Jeez. Anyway. I think I know what's happening. I think I filled my suit with nitrogen. Each time I've taken it off in here. Oh dear, the water's out. Right. We'll deal with that. We will deal with that. It's okay. Doesn't the suit or helmet equalize with the surrounding air when you take it off? I thought it did. Okay, you're at 7 liters. Okay. That should last me a little bit, but let's put a little bit more in. How much have I got left in this? Because I'm going to need this for my coolant loop as well. Oh, I've still got 68 liters in it. That's fine. Is that water too hot? I don't think so. I don't think any of my water is particularly hot. Oh, it is a bit hot. That is a problem. But these are uninsulated pipes that are running in a cool room, so they should cool down eventually. Maybe I need to put a radiator on the inside. That's going to burn. Oh. Hut. Hut, 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 hut. That should cool it down. Eventually. It'll be slow, but it'll get there. That was my quickest, simplest, speedy solution. The heat exchange would be quicker, agreed, but requires more piping and distraction from the thing that's going to actually get me to stuff that I need, which is making my coolant loop work better. Thanks, Bad Dog. Thank you so much for 56 months. Any blammos today? Well, we discovered a blammo that had existed already, but probably happened last week. So that's probably a no, technically. Just leave those there for now. Alright, so what I'm thinking is I'll rearrange this air conditioner to be in front so they're all nice and neat again. This will upset me, so let's turn you off. I'm gonna make this tidy. This is meant to be my permanent setup. It should be neat. See, it does. Okay, then that goes there. And now we pipe. Once I realize which bits are going to what. So we've got our waste. Output goes to input, which connects up to the waste of that. So oops. Let's do this. Then this one can connect up to here. That's my waste line. Perfect. Waste is going to there. This comes back around here. That's neatly hooked up again. I just need to decide where I'm going to put my little storage tank thing on this loop. Because this also connects up to the waste line of this one. Because this loop will be disconnected because it'll actually hook up to here instead. Think. That waistline goes to this one. That waistline goes to this one. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I think I've got more of those insulated tanks up the top. Waster's just having some issues with his audio, but we'll be here soon, so those wondering about Archean, we are getting to it. He's just getting himself sorted. Hey, this is neat, Pipe Sketty. This is as neat as I can manage with the how... Oh, I probably wanted these another block forward, didn't I, to make this neat? Well. So I'm not going to be able to make the cabling neat with it this way. Dang it! Have to fix it. Grr. This was going to be neat. One there. One there. I mean, alternatively, I could have flipped this one around the other way, but I kind of like the idea of them all facing outward. Because then I could have made them run in a little U shape going from this one to this one to this one to this one, which might have been neater. But with where the exhaust is, I think I'm happy with it like this. Excuse me, sorry. 1 second. Just gonna blow my nose. Okay. I've made a complete mess that I now have to fix. And remember that I was in the process of fixing next week. That's going to be awkward. Morning, Wasted. How's it going?
Damn it, you were paying attention.
Sometimes I do.
I'm supposed to sneak in all quiet. No one's going to notice.
Audio sounds like it's sorted.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just Windows being Windows?
No, I've been doing some work on like stuff for the airsoft, and that means different mic, different
Oh, right, yep.
desk, different everything, and I'd replugged some of the wires in the wrong places.
Yep. Yeah, I was super diligent with my last rewiring, and I actually labeled everything when I've rebuilt this PC.
I want to go through this and sort it all out, because it's got some bits in the loop that don't need to be there anymore, and it just makes it way more complicated than it needs to be.
Ah.
I still have my old mixer and my old amp, etc. in the loop from when I didn't have a Go XLR. They're still in there.
Yeah, that would add considerable complexity. Okay, well.
And how was your stationeering been?
That's been good.
Stationeering?
It's not been... I've not done anything too disastrously horrible, but I have made myself a nightmare of a situation to sort out next week. So I've ripped apart a system that I'm now going to have to remember why and where I was doing things. But that is for next time. Right now, Wasted and I are going to jump across to play some Archean and try and figure out how we are going to build a submarine. So I'll be jumping across to that right now.